highlights channel of the Ranveer Show. This is TRS Clips. Why did you become a politician?
I wanted to change policy.
Okay.
I was the USAID ambassador to India on WHO. So what popularly, if I describe the aspect of that job is, you see conversations about the ORS ghol with zinc. I was the ambassador who introduced it to India.
Gotcha.
I was 23 years old. Now, when I was doing that, I was going to hospitals, government hospitals, Bihar, UP, Madhya Pradesh. I also, when I used to do Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi, if I would do a big ad campaign, I would take some money out and do projects to build water systems for villages.
I think the inception of this thought of you becoming a politician happened while the show was at its peak.
I'll just give you the. So I'm doing all of this, and I have a big politician in Maharashtra telling me, you can keep doing this your whole life, but if you want to do systemic change, you have to become a politician and work hard enough to be a politician who can write policy. He said, because everything that happens in the country has to stem from two things, either policy or law. And for you to become a lawmaker, that should be your penultimate goal if you truly are doing all this to bring about change. And I think that gentleman was Gopinath Munde. What he said made a lot of sense. Because I at 23 felt, मैं सब कर रही हूँ. किसी के पास अगर बीमारी है उसको help कर रही हूँ. किसी के पास पानी नहीं है उसको help कर रही हूँ. And I was like, why is the system not responding? He said, but you need people in the system who will make the system respond by building policy or by building law.
Not every politician is capable of coming up with good policies.
True.
That's a thing.
It's true.
But I would assume it's a very basic part of your skill set.
No. Not at all. Not at all. And I'll tell you why. You've had a government before this, right? So you can do a comparative then and there. For instance, toilet is a big issue, right? That we are administratively addressing. Was toilet not an issue earlier? It was never a part of any political manifesto. It was never a part of any political talk. In fact, it was not a talk which is glamorous enough to be had. But it's a very basic need of a woman. But no woman ever walked up to a politician and said, "Mujhe toilet bana ke dijiye." These are conversations that were never had in our country. If you do a research, in 2013 you will find, and this has happened on TV channels, IBN7, all these guys have done the debates, but everybody forgets. 40% of sexual assaults against women were happening when they were going out to defecate in the morning or at night. Can you imagine? Our country never had a menstrual hygiene administrative system in it. Why is it important? People will say, "Ye kya hai?" So let's imagine that you are a girl in a school. Your school has to provide you a sanitary pad. Was that a conversation earlier? When was the last you passed out of school? I passed out of school in 94. It was never a conversation. If it's a sarkari school, that means I have to put up a sanitary pad ka machine. उसका मतलब उसका budget कहीं से आएगा. मेरे अकेले के स्कूल में नहीं होगा, सबके स्कूल में होगा. वो बजट स्टेट से नहीं आएगा तो सेंटर से आएगा. तो बजट एक बार आपने डाल दिया, सैनिटरी पैड लगा दिया मशीन, तो उसका डिस्पोजल कैसे होगा? तो सरकार इज अ थिंग विच सेज, अच्छा, इफ एक्स हैज टू बी डन, you have to look at every aspect of how that issue is to be done. So if you talk about sanitary pad, how do I make it available? I have to make it available so that it's affordable, right? So today there is Jan Aushadhi Kendra, 9,000 of them across the country. And $1 sanitary pad is available across the country. But if I have to get it into a school, I also have to have a disposal strategy.
Are you explaining policy making through this example?
Yeah.
Okay. This is what goes in.
But if you're not conscientious of these aspects, would you make the policy then?
It's like product design from a very macro country level.
But you have to do it. You're talking macro, but I have to look at the micro picture. That fine. मैंने उसके हाथ में सैनिटरी पैड 1 रुपए का दे भी दिया, वो फेंकेंगे कहाँ पे?
Empathy.
Empathy and it has multiple layers of effect. I'll tell you why. You as a country are committed to environmental standards to be maintained. Can you have menstrual hygiene products just chucked all over the country in some corner? No. So when the Prime Minister gives a clarion call, don't do single-use plastic. It is not only an international commitment for making sure that you are reaching sustainable development goals. It is also to say that when you chuck plastic outside, who's eating it? Stray animals?
Gotcha.
And so it's a whole consciousness. So when the Prime Minister says, let's do Swachh Bharat, which Prime Minister has ever said this? But why are you saying it? If you inculcate a feeling that I need to keep my city clean, will I then attract more and more people in terms of investments or tourists? Yes. Will I have a civic sense which is ingrained into a generation? My generation is seeing things chucked all over the place. My kids' generation is conscientious enough to say, don't do this.
Okay.
But can it be only that kid doing it? What happens when it becomes a social network? Then, as a part of the social network, you have people saying, okay, you have a problem disposing it. Can I use technology and give you an easier way or a more affordable way of disposing of this waste? This is the most non-glamorous conversation to have. But it just tells you that as a politician or as a policymaker, when I sit down, I have to think through all of these layers. So to be a good politician, only being a people pleaser is not enough.
Okay.
First, you have to decide, why do you want to be a politician? I was very clear. I wanted to be a politician to make policy. I had the privilege of building India's first MOOCs platform called Swayam. But we built it when digital education was not the in thing, right? Prime Minister Modi then said Digital India and everybody said, what is this nonsense? From the opposition, everybody attacked, kaun karega Hindustan mein digital payments? Today, you can't imagine not paying digitally. So, like I said, skill set, one, not only people pleaser, you have to have passion for a thing or two in the policy segment. The third issue is, you need to do things for your people way before they become a huge necessity or an emergency arrives.
Stitch in time saves 9.
Yes, but there are many times when you don't know what is to be stitched. Can you preempt it?
You have conversations? People?
Of course.
That's how you figure, oh, this is what's wrong in their life.
No, the issue is not only having conversations with people, right? The issue is you as a country have missed out on many a decades where you could have reached many a new standards vis-a-vis internationally how development is recognized.
Like South Korea did. In the same time.
It's like you can't do apples and oranges. I, as an Indian, feel we are now at a time in our history, globally or domestically, where we've seen situations fail across the world. We've seen what works across the world. We are great adapters. And I think one of the greatest opportunities where we learned about our own strengths was when COVID came.
Yeah.
Everybody who spoke, and I still remember a conversation with a representative in UN Women New York. So a statement came out that in India, 80% of women now will be getting beaten up at home because they're all indoors. And I called that colleague in New York. I said, how did you make this statement? I said, give me empirical evidence. Why is it that you presume that 80% women in my country will get beaten up at home? Are you telling me that 80% men in marriages or partnerships in my country have nothing better to do but beat up their female partner? No, it is our projected fear. I said, can you imagine doing this to your country and saying, oh, I project a particular fear with no empirical evidence? I said, I would like you to withdraw that statement right now. I can compute. We had 35 helplines functional across the country. The National Commission for Women's Office was 24/7 operational. State commissions were operational. Police was operational. I said, you find me one case where a woman says that I'm trying to reach out and there's nobody who wants to help. I had fast track courts running. I had victims under protection. I had people in women's homes that were functional, children's homes that were functional. We were monitoring all these establishments. I said, you sit there in New York and you pontificate about my country without empirical evidence.
Yeah.
I said, it's very easy to be this kind of a feminist who say, oh, acha, acha, hua hoga. I said, nonsense. Every man in my country is not a female shamer or a wife beater or a rapist. So I think as a politician, like you said, what are the skill sets? The biggest skill set, are you passionate about your country, about your people? Because people pleasing is not the correct aptitude. There are many times you have to say no.
Yeah, winning over people's hearts, maybe not pleasing.
No, Ranveer.
How do you get them to follow you?
You see, a good leader takes you where you ought to be.
Okay. You change their life and therefore...
You have to bring in a system of, for instance, what did Prime Minister Modi first say? I have to reach out and give clean fuel to the poorest of the poor. I can't afford to do it. If some of you who have extra subsidies don't need it, can give it up. Can you give it up? 1 crore people gave it up.
Yep.
Now, as a politician, he could have very well said, "Arey yaar, jeet gaye, bahut badi margin se, historic ho gaya. Let the games begin. Let everybody be happy." He's taken very tough decisions.
Yeah.
And if you're a part of his team, he tells you, okay, don't do your politics so that you can get your 2 minutes of fame on a TV channel or a newspaper. If you have the capacity to withstand headwinds and do good by your people, even if you get bad press, just do it. And I think it's very rare to get such a boss. If you're genuinely true to your people, you have to be honest with them. So as an Amethi MP, there are people who walk up to me and say, ये कर दीजिए, कानून की मर्यादा के अंतर्गत नहीं है. And I say a flat out no. Will I be pleasing those people that day? Absolutely not. But at least my people know that if you reach out to your MP, it's something which is legitimate, she'll get it done.
So these are playlists made especially for you. We've tailor-made learning experiences for you on TRS Clips.